Is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are First. Welcome into another edition of the original Call to Post. Here on the network, we break down everything that horse racing in North America has to offer. And folks, we have a loaded show today. 6 races we're going to be looking at, including the final one. Look, for a 5-horse field, I don't think you could get more stacked than this. It is the Whitney, but we'll get to that in a bit. To help me break it all down, as always, is my co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Raider Jim at Raider Jim 1090. Mr. Martinez, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Yeah, you can tell you're in the getting into the thick of summer because you look at the race programs going on this weekend and it is loaded.
It's, $2.5 million between the 3 races that we're going to talk about at Saratoga. And there will also be 3 races at Del Mar we are going to be talking about. The last race that we'll talk about is the Whitney. And that will be a win, and you're in to the granddaddy of them all, the Longines Classic, that will be raced, of course, here at Del Mar on the first Saturday of November. But before we get into those, let's take a look back at this past weekend. Obviously, Saratoga had a big weekend. Seems to be this time of year, Saratoga's always having big weekends, but we saw Essential Quality do what I think we kind of expected it to do. And then a $70 winner there, I believe, in the Vanderbilt. The Lexonian, I believe, came through near 35-40 to 1, paid out a lot of happy customers. But in terms of the win and you're in, all eyes were on Del Mar this past weekend. And Saturday, it was, of course, the Bing Crosby, and it was Dr. Scheibel. I think both of us had that on our ticket. We definitely both talked about Dr. Scheibel last weekend. And then Sunday was the Clement Hirsch Stakes. That gets you into the, the Longines Distaff, where you're probably going to have to bring down the queen herself, Monomoy Girl, if you do want to win that Distaff. But it was She Dares the Devil who gets the job done. I really want to say She Dares the Devil was the Kentucky Oaks winner from last year, who kind of shocked everyone. Yeah, so that filly has continued on her way, and she will be, if she so chooses, running in the Breeders' Cup Distaff at Del Mar. But Raider Jim, what were your thoughts on the races this past weekend?
Yeah, She Dares the Devil. What a great race. And anybody who got a chance to get out to Del Mar this past weekend, not just the caliber of horses, but again, when you think there's already an all-star cast of jockeys out there. But this past weekend, they even brought in Florent Giraud from the back east. And he was on CZ Rocket, who showed in the Bing Crosby Stakes, was actually, I think, the favorite going into it. You and I both had CZ Rocket and Dr. Scheibel. And then if you happen to be in the stands on Sunday for the Clement L. Hirsch Stakes, grade 1, $300,000, it was Florent Giraud on the back of She Dares the Devil. Wow, what a race. Just what a fantastic race they ran. And the one thing that we did point out on Sunday, it was kind of a last minute call before we got to post time on race 9, did plug in Paige Ann as an underneath, fill in with your ticket, and Paige Ann did end up showing. And the reason that I was leaning more towards Paige Ann, the more that I looked at the dollars and cents and the figures and past performances, it's one reason. Flavian Pratt was on board, and Flavian Pratt right now owns Del Mar. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. The guy's like 63% in the money so far this season. So congratulations to him. So nice to see Florent Giraud. And it wasn't a big stakes race or a big money race to close out the weekend or the day on Sunday, but in the winner's circle on Sunday, last race to close out a great weekend of racing, it was Ace Jersey Joe Bravo in the winner's circle. So good to see. Congratulations to Jersey Joe. The other races that you spoke about, I mean, what do you say? None Above the Law at 10 to 1 ends up winning the Real Good Deal Stakes. Had that one down on our tickets. And then Jackie's Warrior at Saratoga on Sunday with Drain the Clock and Crowded Trade. That was a great race. It was just a kid in a candy store if you're a race fan. Lexitonian at 34 to 1, though, I got to be honest. No, I did not have Lexingtonian on my ticket. That's for sure. But to win the Alfred G. Vanderbilt Stakes on Saturday, that was race 8, ran a fantastic race. I happened to watch that race and just fired and didn't give it up. Just ran a fantastic race. No other way to put it.
Yeah, and a great payout for those who did have that horse on their ticket. We kind of talked about it yesterday before we did the NFL pod that, if Flavien Prat keeps this up, the Jimmy Durante course, it will be up until 2021 because they're about to call this the Flavien Prat course because he is on fire. 60+% in the money. That's ungodly. That's cheat code type stuff. And really couldn't happen to a better rider who really, even going back to last year, I believe he won the jockey standings. He definitely, I think, broke a record for the most stakes wins last year, picking up right where he left off last year. And once again, I always remind everybody, excuse me, we always, when we do this podcast, we record on Thursday. So we don't have the past performances for the Sunday entries. Our eyes are still on them. However, obviously, we won't talk about them on this podcast. So make sure, first and foremost, you go follow Raider Jim on Twitter at RaiderJim1090. He always has those things coming out, and even kind of some of the late things. Look, we've had situations where a horse is scratched out that we talked about. Correct. And we're able to kind of go in after the fact on Twitter and maybe do a couple amendments. So make sure you give Raider Jim a follow at RaiderJim1090. And myself as well. I'm not nearly as active on the weekends, but Raider Jim has you covered for those Sunday showings. For what we don't have the PPs for them just yet. So with that, it is time to turn our attention. We're going to do things a little differently. Normally, we kind of end the show with the Del Mar races. With all due respect to Del Mar, the Saratoga is kind of the big boy of the weekend, or at least the big races of the weekend. Del Mar still has 3 fantastic races on Friday and Saturday, multiple fantastic races, but the 3 we're going to be talking about all are going to be grade 2s. And the first one will be on Friday. It's going to be going 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. West or Pacific time. Do the math in between. It will be race number 7. It is the grade 2 Sorrento Stakes, 6 furlongs on the dirt. These are for 2-year-old fillies. So kind of the young fillies getting a chance. And for me, look, when you talk about 2-year-olds, especially in graded races, it's kind of, there are a lot of questions and you don't get a whole lot of answers. For me, the first horse that jumps out to me is Smash Ticket. Currently the favorite at 9-5 will probably get closer to even money. The reason I like the horse, and more than likely it's 9-5, are those buyer scores. By far the best buyer scores for anybody in this race. And it's not really even close. A 76 and a 78, for example. The other horse I'm going to be talking about is At the Spa, and then Elm Drive. Those two. Elm Drive, the best buyer score, only buyer score, I will say, was 66. That's the closest anyone can get in terms of the buyer score to Smash Ticket. So for me, Smash Ticket is the one that jumps out to me now. However, I'm going to get closer to probably even money. You're going to have to spend a little bit to win. So I looked elsewhere. Elm Drive was definitely one. This is a horse, a 66 buyer score in its debut. That is very nice. The most impressive part of it for me, however, an 8-length win. This is a horse that led pretty much start to finish and, kind of took some, pulled away from the field, especially late, especially for a horse that's, kind of an early runner, a very, definitely an early run horse. But for me, the 11 horse At the Spa, definitely some question marks here. Now, this is another horse that's going to have early speed. In the 11 spot or the 11 post, not ideal. However, going 6 furlongs, you only have 1 turn and you have the entire back stretch to kind of get to where you need to go for that horse. So they're not going to have to do the 2 turns. The one thing about At the Spa, the thing that jumped out to me, this is the only horse in the field that has beaten winners. And all the other horses have only won in the maiden level. At the Spa has won against winners. Last time out at Santa Anita, it was an ungraded stakes race, but it did win at 2-1. So that's the reason At the Spa is there for me. But Elm Drive and Smash Ticket are definitely there as well. These are a little tough. These 2-year-old horses, you're not going to see more than 2 or 3 rides, and you're not really going to see anything out of the maiden special weight division. But At the Spa is definitely one of them. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the Grade 2 Sorrento?
Going to be a great race. I like watching the 2-year-olds run, especially at this distance. I'm with you on Smash Ticket, that's for sure. Keep in mind, 2-year-olds, a lot of them, they've had their maiden race, they've won their maiden race. 6 of the horses, 6 of the entries were winners their last time out. So it's going to be a very competitive field. Smash Ticket winner last time out. The other reason I like Smash Ticket, only 20 days rest. Sometimes the younger horses do better when there's not a big break in time between a last successful run and then the next race. So watch Smash Ticket. I think that both Brandon and I are onto something with that. I like Elm Drive as my second choice for the same reasons. Not that much distance between today or tomorrow and the previous race. 40 days, still 40 days, but still well at 5-2. That's not bad odds on that. I like the 3-horse Etta. Etta's right now at 4-1, but Etta ran a little bit higher caliber race the last time out and won. So at 4-1, I think you need to keep your eye on Etta. If you're looking for a long shot and one that might surprise people, it would be the 7-horse, and that is Sachs. Sachs is currently 10-1, but not only Sachs has good workouts, won the last time out. It was, has brought home, averaging 15,000 winnings on the winning races, which isn't bad for this field. That's very competitive. But I think the jockey that's starting to really settle in at Del Mar, and watch for him tomorrow, it's going to be Jersey Joe Bravo. He's going to be in the saddle on Sachs number 7. So again, my picks: 2 Smash Ticket, 9 Elm Drive, 3 Etta, 7 Sachs.
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic. This is the first time, and I don't believe this is the case, but at least the first time since Del Mar opened this, in the last 3 weeks. And then we've been doing this, talking about these races, that I've seen Bob Baffert horse, because honestly, that was going to kind of be my next question. But Ida is a Bob Baffert horse with Abel Cedijo aboard as well. So Baffert, at least in the stakes situation with some of the favorites, at least has a horse that will be contending. Because I agree, I think Ida, there is plenty of value here. Once again, hopefully, there's 11 runners. I will also say At the Spa has been entered into a race that's probably going to be going off in about 2 or 3 hours as we speak. The California Thoroughbred Racing Association Stakes, an ungraded stakes race on Thursday at Del Mar. I don't know if At the Spa ran today. Obviously, if that horse did run, it's not going to run in this race. So just a little caveat out there. However, I do believe, hopefully, this horse will run on Friday in that Sorrento Stakes. And obviously, we wouldn't have the time to get the information out for the race that's going on here on Thursday. So
interesting note on Baffert. Bob Baffert has not had a lot of entries at Del Mar this season, but he has had his share. And he has had enough that he is actually the number 2 winning trainer at Del Mar right now.
Of course.
He just happens to do it.
Yeah.
So there he is.
Always. He's just seems to very quietly be in that in that leaderboard. So it's definitely getting back to normal there. Moving on to Saturday, we have 2 grade 2s at Del Mar. The first one we'll be talking about should be going off about 9:05 p.m. Eastern time, 6:05 the West. Do the math in between. It is race number 9, going 6 furlongs as well on the dirt. Another 2-year-old race. This one, no gender specification, so we're going to see a lot of colts here, but 6 furlongs on the dirt. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors on the Best Pal Stakes.
Best Pal Stakes. There, tell you what, it's not a big field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 horses, 7 great horses. Each one of these horses was the winner the last time out. So you are going to see competition at its best. And unfortunately, it's easy to look good when you're handicapping a race like this. There's 5 on my ticket that I would tell you I have to look at, pare it down. because at some point it's not cost effective for me to just load a ticket because nobody's odds are going to be that dynamic where you're going to make a lot of money. I do like the horse Thirsty as Always. Along with Thirsty as Always, there's the horse Papa Cap and then Bet on Mookie. I'm going to go back a screen because I need to get numbers on this. Thirsty Always is the 5 horse. And then we had, I think the other horse I said was Papa Cap. Papa Cap is going to run out of the 3 spot. And again, there's Joe Bravo. Joe Bravo right now, that horse is 8-5. So things are lining up for Joe Bravo, just like when you see Flavian Pratt's name. Now, when you see Joe Bravo's name, you're going to have to start really thinking about his chances for in the money. So we got Bravo on the 3 horse, Bet on Mookie on the post position. Peter Miller's horse, Abel Cedillo riding that one also at 5-2. The greatest odds out there in this race, there's Our Empire, kind of a filler horse, Tyler Bayes riding at 20-1 coming out of the 2 spot. After that, it drops all the way down to 10, which is Olympic Legend running on the far outside in the 7. But Thursday as Always, Thursday Always, the 5 horse is right now at 7-2. Papa Cap, the 3 horse is running at 8-5. Bet on Mookie is at 5-2. My other 2 that I'm looking at, do I fill these in underneath? Phineas, a California horse with Rispoli on board, 3-1 right now. Fantastic horse. And Aquitania Arrival. That horse has a lot of potential. JJ Hernandez, he's having a great season himself. I think he was number 2 a week ago. I'm not sure if he's number 2 right now or not. But Aquitania Arrival, and that's another Peter Miller horse. Peter has 2 horses in this race. So there's the 5. But if you're going to put a gun to my head and say pick 3, Thursday Always, Papa Cap, Bet on Mookie. But watch me on Saturday because I'll change that around by.
And once again, just kind of tells you that's why, make sure you follow us on Twitter to make sure you get our actual picks, because a lot of what this is right now, 48 hours away from these races going off, the odds sometimes are a big kind of reason or barometer for why we bet which horses. For me, I agree with that. For me, Thirsty Always, I think it is the horse that probably is going to be definitely at the top of my ticket. 2-for-2 career, did win last time out, and both of their 2 wins have been at high odds. So we had 8 and 6-1 when this horse won its last 2 races. Very, very interesting there. Phineas and Thirsty Always, half brothers, both Stay Thirsty bred. So that'll be something to keep an eye on there. But the one thing I will say, Bet on Mookie. Last time out was, of course, on turf. And it was only at 5 furlongs. That does, it's only an extra furlong. The only race it did have on dirt only went 4.5 furlongs. Ran okay, finished second. But, probably will need to improve in order to win here. But I really do like that call that you talked about with Phineas and Papa Cap, along with Thirsty Always. For me, Thirsty Always probably be at the top of my ticket. Papa Cap, this is obviously looking kind of at everyone's buyers. Thirsty Always was the only one that had a better run. But Papa Cat, I tell you what, I love looking at pedigrees. And whenever you can see Gun Runner on that sire side, okay, the pedigree is there. And only 50,000 to breed any Gun Runner horse. It's kind of a bargain, relatively. But we shall see how this race goes. Once again, 2-year-olds. We'll see how that goes. Our Empire, as you kind of said, maybe a bit of a filler here at 20-1. Did win its first race, but it was at the maiden special weight, only 17,000 division. For just to kind of compare, pretty much everyone else has been racing in the maiden special weights, 50,000 plus, and he's only down at 17. So big step up in class here. I don't think it's good enough to at least make it on my ticket, but keep an eye there. And if you do, of course, want to play the name game, Olympic Legend, if you're into the Olympics right now, if that's really what you want to do, go for it, but not a ton there. I think there's a lot more value elsewhere. with those three we just talked about. But moving on to, I guess, the main race of the day, at least on Saturday, will be going off around 6:35, 6:40 on the West Coast, 9:35, 9:40 on the East Coast. It is a 1.16 mile on the turf. It's the grade 2 yellow ribbon handicap, 200,000 to the winner. And we have a lot of really good horses in this one. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the defending champ of this race. It is Bodacita. However, at 6-1, this is a horse. It's made over 300,000. Has been in the money 10 out of its 17 runs. The last 2 times out, however, has taken some steps back from the yellow ribbon. Did run well in the Gamely, but lost out to the horse that really, for me, this is honestly the first time I'm actually seeing the numbers on it in terms of the odds, and I'm not terribly surprised, but I will say I'm a huge fan of that 9 horse Maxim Rate only being 7-2. This is a horse, maybe one of the top turf horses on the West Coast. Obviously, as I said, last time out beat Bodacita in the Gamely. That was, of course, a grade 1 up at Santa Anita. This is a horse that's been at Del Mar, has won twice at Del Mar on the turf. Definitely keep an eye on Maxim Rate. It's going to be a very, very interesting horse. Definitely, I would say the odds are more interesting to me than anything. Last one I want to talk about is the 4 horse at 4-1 Dog Tag. You got, of course, Richard Mandela and Umberto Rispoli. This is a horse that has been, pretty, hasn't ran a ton this year, but has been in the money both times, yet to get into the winner's circle. But I really do think that Dog Tag has a good shot here to at least work their way in the money. If you are going to stay away from Dog Tag, it's going to be moving on to, where was it? Where'd that horse go? There it is. The 3 horse Charmaine's Mia. This is the horse actually beat Dog Tag out in the grade 2 at Santa Anita on April 3rd. And this is a horse that is has won 3 of its last 4 races, but once again, last time out, ran in the Gamely, was behind the winner Maxim Rate and also behind Bodacita. So for me, like I said, I think Maxim Rate and Bodacita for me are the top 2, and then Charlemagne's Mia and what was the other one? I lost it. Dog Tag. Those are the 4 I'm keeping my eye on. Probably going to turn that into a trifecta, either Dog Tag or Charlemagne's Mia. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the yellow ribbon?
This is a great race. Hard one to call because, again, it's good quality horses out there on the track. I also like the 3 horse Charmaine's Mia, and it's just by chance. The jockey is Joe Bravo. Again, he's getting lined up. He's getting the good pulls, the good rides. This could be his weekend. Dog Tag is also with Rispoli on board. You can't go wrong. Now, here's where I'm going to start. Every now and then a race jumps out at me, and I'm starting to look at the past performances before I look at the odds and see where it all fills in. So this one on the ticket underneath, it's going to have a couple more long shots, or a few more long shots that I'll be considering. The first one of those being Princess Grace. Princess Grace at 8-1. Great odds, definitely an in the money threat, has been a good earner, has good speeds. And then also like Laura's Light, even more so at 15-1, but Laura's Light, another good one. Then there's a horse that won its last time out. It's not running really quite the same caliber of races, but this horse is quick, it's competitive, and that is the 7 horse Epidemia. Epidemia's Girl out of Kentucky. Any one of those 3 horses could have a chance to be spoilers on your ticket. So just keep your eye on the boards on those, because again, the money's going to tell you the story of what the word is behind the scenes. So by post time on Saturday, or even by lunchtime on Saturday, you're going to start watching those numbers change. Right now, Epidemia's Girl's morning line is 12-1. If you see that go up to 16-1, okay, then maybe word is out. The horse is not just going to bring it today. But if you see it drop down to 10, to 8, then you might want to keep your eye on it and put it for consideration on your ticket. But again, going back, I really like Charmaine's Mia with Joe Bravo on board, number 4 Dog Tag. Can't go wrong with Maxim Rate, that 9-horse. But definitely it's going to be Maxim Rate for me, along with probably Princess Grace. So 3, 4, 8, 9 are going to be the 4 that I concentrate on at this point.
There you go. It's going to be a great weekend, as always, at Del Mar. We are about 2 weeks away from the big Saturday at Del Mar. Of course, the Pacific Classic will be going off, of course.
Before we move on to Saratoga, and one thing, Brandon kind of alluded to it when we started out talking the Del Mar stuff. On Fridays, they start their program at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thursdays, Saturdays, Sunday, they go off at 2. They have a 2-hour delay. They used to have concerts at Del Mar on Friday evenings and have these great social events. They kept 4 o'clock as their starting time. So again, also make sure you have your tickets before you get there. I don't know if they've changed that policy where you can walk up and buy a ticket. The opening weekend, and I believe the second weekend as well, you had to have a ticket reserved or in hand, or they weren't going to let you in the park.
I believe that is still the case. I think I was on the website 3 or 4 days ago, and they did make it known that you are going to have your tickets beforehand. Obviously, a difference from usual, but I feel like, look, if we're the one breaking you the news that things a little different around the sports scene, you're a little late to the party. But anyways, yeah, it's going to be very interesting as we get deeper into the Del Mar season, because eventually, I think once after the, Pacific Classic passes over, I think that's when everyone, the horse racing fans around here are going to finally start to feel, hey, we don't ever want to see the summer meet end, but this year we know when it does, we're going to be a month away from the Breeders' Cup. And I know we're all very excited about that. But we are going to turn our attention now to Saratoga, and we will start the first race that we'll be talking about first and foremost, not just these 3 races, but I would say almost every single race on this card is going to pay out pretty much we have 3, 1, 2, there were 3 allowance races of over 100,000. There's 200,000 maiden special weights. There's even like a 50,000 optional claiming in there too. So a lot of money is going to be handed out to the connections of the winners and runners at Saratoga here this Saturday. But we will start race number 8. 4:34 Eastern time, 1:34 on the West. In the middle, do the math. Race number 8. It is the Grade 1 Test Stakes, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to start this one off on the Grade 1 test for 3-year-old fillies, I should say.
Gonna be a fantastic race, and just to add a little more hype for Saratoga, let's give you an idea. We're starting at race 8. Race 7 is a $250,000 stakes race, 1.5 miles on the turf. The race we're talking about is 7 furlongs on the dirt. And this is a $500,000 race. That's not even the top race yet. The 2 we talk about after this are $1 million each race. Saratoga that's why they are recognized as one of the premier racetracks in the nation. So, and please, that is not a knock or taking anything away from Del Mar, because Del Mar is the jewel of the West Coast for thoroughbred racing. Anyway, here we are at race 8. It is the Longines Test Stakes, Grade 1, $500,000. How can I go away from not wanting to put my money on Search Results? Search Results, the 7-horse at 3-1 right now. Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz, 5 times out, 5 times in the money, 4 of those times in the winner's circle this year. And that's why Search Results is my favorite right now. But there's other horses there that you have to be careful for. One is going to be the 5-horse, Always Karina, Chad Brown, 3-1. And the reason I'm going to go with Always Karina, and you didn't hear us talk about him at the Del Mar races, because Flavian Pratt was asked to please be to Saratoga to ride a few mounts. So it's going to be Flavian Pratt riding Always Karina at 3-1. Definitely going to be in the money on this race. Giselle, the 3-horse with Joel Rosario on board, a Todd Fletcher horse at 8-1, I think has a great chance to finish in the money. Definitely good for underneath. Obligatory with Jose Ortiz on board. It's a William Mott horse at 4-1. So you've got 7, 5, 3, and 4. Those are the horses I would look at in this race. And again, anytime you have both the Ortiz brothers on the track at the same time with horses that could finish in the money, it's going to be a great race. Zagel, one more time. Zagel, the 3-horse, is 8-1, and don't overlook that horse to fill in underneath on your ticket.
Not even. I actually, now, first and foremost, Search Results is going to be at the top of my ticket. This is a horse I made a little bit of money on, the Kentucky Oaks. And that's another thing about Search Results. This is a horse that's won 4 of its 5 races, came in second, and the only one it didn't win was the Kentucky Oaks. The only horse it lost out to, Malathot. Probably the best 3-year-old filly in the world right now. So I think Search Results will feel perfectly fine knowing, hey,
Mara Hookah would have something to say about that.
Sorry?
Mara Hookah would have something to say.
Yes. Yeah, they might want to say something there on that and have me look at their last race. Yeah. But and then probably Latruska, but I don't think she's a 3-year-old. So, correct. But anyways, but yeah, for me, Search Results is obviously here at the top. 5-2, I think there's value there, but I do think we're going to get closer to 2-1, maybe even money when it's all said and done. For me, Always Karina is definitely one that catches my eye, but the one you talked about, the 3-horse, Jalil, this is a horse that last time out ran in the Mother Goose at Belmont in June, so about 5 weeks ago, and not only did it win at 18-1, but it beat Always Karina, and it also beat Clairiere, a horse that is another top-notch filly on the North American circuit. So Zalil definitely at 8-1. I think you have to at least throw a play show bet on that horse at the very least. But the one horse that I do want to talk about as well is the 8-horse, Bella Sophia. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be, of all these other horses, I mean, you look at Make Mischief, 12 career runs, obligatory 5, Zalil 5, 7 for Super Sensational, 5 for Illumination. Bella Sophia, this is only her 4th run, and she's running in a grade 1 with some really seasoned fillies. But I will say from the beginning, this horse, you don't see too many horses debut with a buyer score of 94 and then come back, drop down a little bit, still running 90. And then last time out, it was an allowance race, but got it back up to 94. That won that race by 6.5 lengths. Obviously a huge step up in class. This is a horse right now that's 6-1. I think that's probably as low as I will go. If it drops a little lower, I'm going to stay away from it. But this horse gets up to 8 or 10-1. I will pay to see how this horse runs, because the buyer scores show that when this horse is ready to run, it is ready to really run. And it's only been out for about 3 weeks, so it's kind of in that kind of fresh area situation. But Bella Sophia is definitely one that jumps out to me. You know, it's interesting. I brought up Make Mischief, and Make Mischief has been pretty much this year has been at the grade 2, grade 1 levels. Unfortunately, it hasn't really translated to a win. 12-1. I'm going to kind of stay away from this horse myself, but don't be surprised if this horse can sneak its way into the money. I think it's a great late runner. And depending on what these horses have left in the tank when it's all said and done, that could definitely be something to keep an eye on there. But yeah, I'm in love with the 3-horse Zagil at 8-1. Just knowing that, look, this horse ran very well last time out in the Mother Goose. It's by far its only good race, if you will. All the others have been the high 60s, low 70s. So you do kind of have to ask the question, was it a one-off? But at 8-1, maybe even 10-1, I'm willing to pay a place show bet to see if that horse is ready to kind of continue that. So moving on to the Saratoga Derby Invitational Stakes. It is race number 9 going off at 5:10 on the East Coast, 2:10 on the West Coast. Do the math in between. This is for 3-year-olds on the turf, going 1 mile and 3/16, 2 full turns here. This is the purse of $1 million, our first of 2 races in the next couple moments that we're going to be talking about that are going to be paying out $1 million to the runners. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on race number 9, the Saratoga Derby, going on turf?
Well, Bolshoi Ballet, the 6 horses, is the obvious favorite for obvious reasons. This horse just produces, shouldn't be any different this race, definitely to finish in the money. But I will tell you, surprisingly to probably a lot of people, the horse that I think could really challenge, spoil the tickets and get in the money is the 2 horse. And that is Du Jour with Joel Rosario on board. That's a William Mott horse at 8-1. Definitely value on that horse. And I would keep my eyes on that morning line, see where it moves. And then besides Bolshoi Ballet, the 6 horse, and Du Jour, the number 2 horse, I would look at 5 Yes This Time and 7 Secret Protector. Secret Protector, the other jockey we didn't talk about in any of the Del Mar races was Mike Smith, because he and Flavian are both riding first class and sipping champagne on their way back to Saratoga, because he will also be at Saratoga riding in this the Longines test, and I believe a couple other mounts.
Yeah, I agree. Took the words right out of my mouth with the 6 horse Bolshoi Ballet. This is a horse that all it does is win, essentially, especially at kind of the grade 1 level. It did win last time out at Belmont at the grade 1 level. Secret Protector, I would say the only thing that kind of keeps me away from this horse, and I don't really think it's going to keep me away, but, look, you're coming, this will be its first race in North America. Been very well in Great Britain and had a race in the UAE as well, but has been running at Ascot very well. But, it is a little tough to come, for your first North American race to jump right into a grade 1, maybe the biggest weekend at Saratoga. So, a little something there. But like I said, it's not going to keep me away from Secret Protector. There is another horse I do want to talk about. They're actually going to be the 2 edge ones. And the first one is Flashiest. And I'm not really talking about this horse as someone who's going to make my ticket or anything. This is a horse that ran on opening day at Del Mar, or at least opening weekend. That might not have been opening day, but it won as a 13-1 shot, won the Oceanside Ungraded Stakes race. That was Flashiest. So a very kind of quick turnaround, and going back east. That might be a little much for this horse. Also loses Abel Cedijo as the mount. Lescano will step aboard. Unfamiliar with him, but probably an East Coast guy. And the last one I want to talk about at 10-1 is the Kenny McPeak horse, King Fury. Now, this is a horse last time out ran in the 90s and at grade 3s. Unfortunately, they were on dirt. So this is a horse that hasn't run on turf, had an okay workout on turf on the 1st of August. But for me, it's, look, sometimes, hey, you realize that the horse might be better on turf. I just don't know if $1 million grade 1 Saratoga Derby is your time to kind of decide whether or not your horse can run on the turf. But going back to Du Jour at 8-1, I agree with you there. Kind of conversely, what this horse did as opposed to Bolshoi Ballet. This horse has ran once, and it was at Belmont. At least I should say ran once in North America. This was a horse that was pretty much, I take that back. I apologize. I misread that. Forget everything I just said. But for Du Jour, you obviously have William Mott and Joel Rosario. This is a horse that has won just shy of 500,000 at 8-1. I think there's a ton of value there. And for a horse that will have to improve, no doubt about it. The speed numbers, you're going to have to improve on that, but they have been, at least for the most part, showing at least signs that this horse is able to improve. Plenty of value in this race here, but it is now time to move on to, for me, my goodness, this might be the most stacked race we talk about, period. And that includes with the Breeders' Cup, because with all due respect to some of the Breeders' Cup runners in certain runs, some of them just aren't really going to be talked about. This one, we have 5 horses, and all 5 you could make a very good case is going to win And this is, of course, the Grade 1 Whitney Stakes. This is our only win and you're in race of on Saturday. And it will, of course, get you into the granddaddy of them all, the Longines Classic. This is for 4-year-olds and up. As I said, 1 mile and an 1/8 on dirt. I'll get this one started, but my goodness, plenty to get to. First and foremost, I'm looking at the, first and foremost, I'm going to be looking at the 3-horse. Not so much because it's the favorite or anything like that, but because from the time we've done this, the original Call to Post, I would say if there was one podcast that I could make people listen to, or, for myself, I'm not a big self-promoter. I like to say, look, here's the address or here's the link to the podcast, listen to it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, that's okay too. I'm not, someone who's going to say we're the greatest thing ever. We're good, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to have you listen and that will prove it to you. But if there's one that comes out, it was last year's Preakness Stakes preview. 12-1 Swiss Skydiver, and both myself and Raider Jim were both saying, look, do not overlook this horse. We know it's a filly. We know Tiz the Law has had a great year. But you know what? This filly is damn good. And guess what happened? It goes out, beats Authentic by a nose, and made us look really, really, really smart, even though, yes, we are really, really smart. But for Swiss Skydiver, going again against the boys, cannot wait to see what Swiss Skydiver has. Now, 6-1, very odd. You're going to see that horse with those type of numbers, but it is because it's running against the boys, and a big part of it are because of the horses it's going up against. Silver State is the 2-horse at 4-1. This is a horse that has won 6 races in a row. And it's really kind of interesting. I saw how this horse was going, and it kind of, it was running in grade 3s back in 2020. Not amazing. And then got in the Risen Star and Louisiana Derby as it was trying to get ready for the Derby last year. Wasn't able to do it and was kind of stuck in the allowance and optional claiming ranks, and then finally figured it out there. They slowly kind of brought this horse back into the graded stakes races, and it has continued to dominate. This is a horse that's beaten horses like Express Train, Fearless, Rated R Superstar. And it's been incredible. By my standards, is the 1 horse here. That was a horse that lost out in the Metropolitan Handicap the last time out. Now, the final 2 are the 2 that I am trying to split hairs between. And it's my old foe. And the only reason I say foe is because I'm still a little frustrated about the Saudi Cup. I thought for sure I was going to get my TVG, that promo we talked about where, you pick this horse to win. If it comes in 2nd or 3rd, you get your money back. Well, came in 4th, much to my chagrin. And then obviously ran in that Metropolitan Handicap as the heavy favorite, lost out, finished 4th to Silver State and By My Standards. However, dropped down to the Cornhusker, dropped all the way down to a grade 3 and dominated. Actually ran a 1:13, actually had a better run than the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year, where at least for me, that's where I kind of caught the eye. Now, one more thing, I kind of always bring it up when we talk about Knicks Go. Very odd that Knicks Go last year heading to the Breeders' Cup ran in only optional claiming races and still went into the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile as the favorite. So this has been a horse that's always been talked about. No doubt about it, has made almost $5 million, currently 6-5. And it would probably get my pick if it wasn't for the 5-horse Maxfield. This is a horse, 7 career wins in 8 career runs. The only time it did not get into the winner's circle, it lost out to Idol and Express Train, 2 fantastic horses. But this is a horse, another $1.2 million career made for me. Maxfield is the choice here, especially considering I really feel there's going to be a lot of money thrown towards Knicks Go, because there are a lot of people who remember that Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year and have kind of forgotten about maybe some of the struggles it's had. And Maxfield could, who knows? I mean, a 9-5 would be great. 2-1, 5-2 would be fantastic. But if that's the case, I think you have to jump all over Maxfield. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on this absolutely stacked race?
Yeah, and again, as you said, not to pat myself on the back, but I've bet on 80% of the horses in this race, and I've collected on 80% of the horses in this race. But Knicks Go can be beat. Absolutely, Knicks Go can be beat, and I think Knicks Go morning line is 6-5 on that horse right now. But I think Knicks Go is not going to be in the winner's circle. I'm with you. I think it's probably going to be Maxfield. Maxfield was the wonder kid. Maxfield was supposed to go out on the earlier years and end up, oh, this is going to be our Derby horse, our Triple Crown threat. Didn't quite get there due to different issues. But again, you cannot look at Maxfield and not say this horse is going to be in the money. So Maxfield, the 5 horse, definitely. Sentimental favorite. I wish it won't play out mathematically because he's got too many entries between right now and race 10 on Saturday. But Steve Asmussen is the trainer for Silver State, the 2 horse. By the time this race hits post time, undoubtedly, Asmussen's entries for the Friday and Saturday, he will have won 3 races. And when he does that, he will become the winningest trainer in North America. And congratulations to him. You know, what a great career. He's a gentleman. But wouldn't it be great if somehow it worked out where he just needed 1 more to break the record and Silver State got across in the Whitney Stakes and put him into that? That's storybook stuff. Regardless, he's going to finish in the money. I'm pretty sure of that. But I'm going to go underneath with Swiss Skydiver. There's tickets to be built if you have the right combination, because Silver State at 4-1, Swiss Skydiver at 6-1. Boy, you box those and you get the right combination, and Swiss Skydiver ends up, you know, she shows everybody who's boss and don't push me around because I'm a girl. You know, you're going to have a nice ticket. So again, I'm going to go with Maxfield, Silver State, Knicks Go, and Swiss Skydiver underneath.
I like it. And just going back to Swiss Skydiver, I'm just looking pretty much at her career, and we'll just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the last 8 or 9 races. This horse has either won or lost out to the likes of Latruska and Monomoy Girl, lost out to Monomoy Girl and Valiant, even Art Collector, a horse. It was back in the Bluegrass. Swiss Skydiver is that filly right now that it doesn't matter. She's not looking for the fillies length or division or anything like that. This is a horse that Kenny McPeak says, I don't care what it is. If I believe my horse can run in it, I'm going to put her in. And as we saw in the Preakness, do not bet her or count her out. I will say, however, I feel like the horses in this race are better than they were last year in the Preakness. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I cannot underestimate or overestimate, however that is, the fact that even by my standards, who we're not really going to talk about, this is a horse that's won $2.2 million and is probably going to go off at 15-1 because there's so many other options. What I'm going to do here in this one, more than likely, is it's been a while since I pulled out my umbrella, but I'm going to bring my umbrella out and I'm going to throw Knicks Go, put that horse off to the side and put money on those other 4 horses, because once again, I really think a lot of the money is going to go towards Knicks Go because it's that horse.
Absolutely.
They remember him from the Saudi Cup. They remember him. And when I say they, I mean the people who are just kind of tuning in, the people who remember the names of the big horses. They don't really know how to read the PPs, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong. That's how you do it there as well. But I think there's going to be a lot of blind money on people going, I remember that horse last November and it ran really well. Well, guess what? The last 6 months will be enough to kind of make you kind of step back. But for me, I think there's plenty of money to be made by throwing an umbrella on that field and just hoping that it's not Knicks Go. And you know what? If it is Knicks Go, put your hand up and go, that's all right. You know, I still wouldn't have won money anyway, because this horse is probably going to go off at, 4-5 or at least even money. But Silver State for me is one that just, you're not going to see a horse of this caliber or any of these caliber horses with the odds like this that you will see. I mean, even Maxfield at 8-5, this is probably going to be one of the few times that Maxfield is not the morning line favorite when it is all said and done. I cannot wait for this race.
It'll
It is going to
race.
be, it's going to be incredible. I mean, 5 horses, you kind of go, oh, it's a 5-horse field. You got 2, the 2 favorites that are probably, and then there are a couple others that are just filling out the field. Not in this one. I mean, you have to literally split hairs to get through some of these. And obviously, as I said, this will be a win and you're into the Longines Classic. And I'll say this right now. Last year, I really, really wanted to see Swiss Skydiver try to go in the Longines Classic. Obviously, it went to the distaff with that fight with Monomoy Girl, or that race with Monomoy Girl. Obviously, if Swiss Skydiver wins this race, it is a win and you're in. And my goodness, folks, we're still trying to figure out how to get there on Saturday. But if Swiss Skydiver wins this race and is in the Longines Classic, I feel like we got to figure something out. We have to, even if it's on top of those white roofs or something like that.
Canada's Closet.
Yeah, exactly. I got no problem. I will sweep for the prior to that and after those races. I will wash dishes, whatever needs to be done. I'll bartend for free the rest of the Bing Crosby season if it gets me in that way. But this is the horse that is, for me at least, the unofficial horse of this podcast, because once again, that was the time where I knew that we were good. We know what we're talking about. I know that 100%. But when Swiss Skydiver came in and we were the only ones around who even told you to think about that horse, that's when I knew, okay, we're on to something here. So I think it's fantastic. We're kind of almost going full circle to the point that, here we are, Swiss Skydiver. One of our first original Call to Post were about Swiss Skydiver and the Preakness. And now we are to the point where we are talking about Swiss Skydiver in the Whitney. And look, I'm behind this horse, this filly. Can't wait to see her run. Wow, but she has got some work to do because there is a lot of talent in this race. And at this point, I'm just knocking on wood, keeping my fingers crossed that we don't see any scratches, because that could possibly, change some things. I don't know, in those situations. And let me ask you this, Raider Jim. This will not play, or this will only be win in place, correct? Or will we see
this in this field? I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Just with 5, it's only a win in a plate. Right. So that makes the umbrella, a little more complicated, but at the end of the day, once again, we talked about it last week, and, if TVG, if you're listening, feel free, give us a call. We'd love to give you some, real pub as opposed to this, but I would not be surprised if the TVG is allowing, and I'm not 100% sure, they will probably have some sort of promo for the Whitney. And I'll tell you what, if you can get one of those and it's a situation, now maybe with only 5 runners, I don't think it'll probably be, if your horse comes in second, we'll give you your money back. I don't know about third, but if that's the case, I tell you what, Swiss Skydiver, that would be a nice little pay, because if that horse comes in and wins, it's going to pay well. And if it's at least in second, you're going to get your money back. But yeah, this is definitely one that is going to be a situation when I'm at work on Saturday. It'll be a situation where everyone's just going to have to wait for 5 minutes, because Brandon will just put up that back in 5 situation. You all just have to nurse your beers while I check this race out, because this is going to be a fantastic, fantastic race. And overall, a fantastic weekend at Saratoga. I mean, once again, we just talked about 3 of the 10 races at Saratoga. Pretty much, like I said, everything is going to be paying out at least 50,000. And like I said, even those maiden special weights, 100,000. It is a all-star field this weekend at Saratoga. But
it doesn't stop on Saturday, because at Saratoga on Sunday, race 8, they have the $200,000 Adirondack Stakes, which is a 6.5 furlong race. Race 9 is going to be their feature race for the day. This is a Sunday feature race. The Saratoga Oaks Invitational Stakes, $700,000. You were going to see some fast horses in that field. So tune into TVG, see what they've got going with the Saratoga races. And again, that's races 8 and 9 on Sunday.
Fantastic. And once again, make sure that you give Raider Jim a follow so he can keep you up to date on everything that's going on there on Sunday, as we don't have the resources at the moment to really fully dive in, but we will on that day. So Raider Jim, final thoughts for a fantastic original Call to Post.
Yeah, just a couple items of note here. Here on the West Coast at the hometown track, the Del Mar racetrack, top earning jockeys right now. The top four: Flavian Pratt, Juan Hernandez, Humberto Rispoli, Abel Cedillo. No surprise. A close fifth, you've got Kyle Frey. And right after that is Jersey Joe Bravo in the sixth spot. Now, that is based on earnings. When you look at the in the money percentages, it's Flavian Pratt is number one, and Joe Bravo is at 50% for his mounts. So like I say, Joe's coming on. So keep your eyes on Joe Bravo in any race, claiming race, maiden claiming race. Watch Joe, watch the mounts, and watch the lines on his horses, because he's here for a reason. He's here because he's a Hall of Famer and he knows how to get into the winner's circle. That's on Del Mar. And then also a shout out to a couple folks and to a horse. One of the go-to, the guy you would see every weekend at Del Mar for so many years when I first started really going to the track as a younger guy. His name was Daryl McCard. He was a jockey around the same time as Chris McCarron. Chris McCarron was the gentleman, the jockey who was actually the jockey they used for the movie Seabiscuit. McCarg and McCarron were just constantly 1 and 2, and they ran with the likes of Lafitte Pinkai Sr. and even Willie Shoemaker, depending on the size of the race. Tomorrow in 2020, Daryl McCard was inducted into the Hall of Fame. But because of COVID, they didn't have the ceremony. Tomorrow, he actually gets inducted into the Hall of Fame back in Saratoga. Congratulations to Daryl McCard. Also being inducted is one of the best trainers out there in the game. Obviously, he's good, and that is Todd Pletcher. So congratulations to Todd Pletcher. And on the four-legged side of the fence, which if it wasn't for horses, we wouldn't be talking about any of this, but talk about well-deserved, American Pharoah will be installed into the Hall of Fame tomorrow. So Daryl McCard, Todd Pletcher, American Pharoah, congratulations to everybody.
Amen, amen. And we'll be ahead of it and give it an early congratulations to Steve Asmussen, who, as we talked about this weekend, will break the record for most wins by a trainer. Great job for him. There are a lot of fantastic trainers out there. I don't know if Steven Asmussen is, for the layman or the average fan would know him, but I think it really says something. This is a guy. Now, look, you got Baffert and Pletchers, and then they're fantastic. All these trainers are fantastic. But you can kind of tell, look, you're not going to see too many optional claiming Bob Baffert horses or even Pletcher horses. But Steven Asmussen, obviously you get to this point, whatever 1,000, 9,000, whatever wins, you're not just running in the grade ones. This is a guy who, bring me your horse, I will do what I can for it. Yeah, and that's something I think that, it's real easy to be Bob Baffert and train. Now, obviously you have to get to that level, but, train some of these horses that, people just essentially bring them their $1 million horses and say, hey, train me. It's a little different when you have a guy like Steven Asmussen who takes a horse that, maybe isn't fantastic or has some question marks, works with this horse, and then goes out and says, you know what? Okay, you're not going to be maybe $1 million, $2 million horse, but you're going to stay in my stable because I love this game and I love the animals and I want to make these horses better. And that's something I think Baffert's never going to get close to this. Pletcher probably won't either. And a lot of it is because they deal with, the top of the top horses, and that's fine. Not to say that, Steven Asmussen's horses aren't there. He will definitely, he brings his horses up to a top level, but he doesn't really, discriminate. He will look at a horse and go, hey, if you're ready to pay whatever needs to be paid for my training, let's get it going. He's got 4 legs. He can run around that course. I'll work with him. So early congratulations to Steven Asmussen. It'd be absolutely fantastic for him to do it in the Whitney. I don't think he's going to have to wait nearly that long. But if he does, like we said, hey, Silver State would be the horse that we'll all kind of be pulling for, because it would be a fantastic storybook ending for Steven Asmussen, or not ending, excuse me, the storybook way to break that record. So thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the original Call to Post, presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. We hope to see you in the circle.
Bet smart, bet safe.